Okay, clicky thing. Hi, my name is Andrew Davies, and I'm going to talk to you about getting beyond the general public, how we can focus in on smaller groups of people so we can communicate more meaningfully. And the process that I'd suggest for this is I'll show 3 ways to brainstorm audiences, different types of audiences. We talk about chopping big audiences into smaller, more manageable groups of people to communicate with. The need to learn about these people. Oh, it's auto-advancing. That's great. Help. All right, we'll just jump to talking about your mother. Okay, it's a little bit awkward, but your mother is a very useful person to think about when you're coming up with a communication strategy, when you're making your content. You can think, how will she relate to it? Will she understand it? Will she want to share it with her friends? Obviously, your mother is fairly like you, so we need to brainstorm all the audiences. So more broadly brainstorm. This is a power map. It's still auto-advancing. That's cool. And the important thing here is to just get as many audiences up here as you can think of, and then later pick a few to focus on. Thank you very much. Then later pick a few to focus on. So you might, for example, if you're working on an oil pipeline campaign, the oil company itself might be an audience, and they would be very powerful and very opposed, who would be in the top left. But you might also have people who drive cars and buy the gasoline from the pipeline. So maybe SUV drivers, or, hey, auto-advancing, fantastic. Go back, please. It's okay, I can just...
Come back.
No, it's fine, it's fine. I'll just sort of roll with it, I think.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good. Sometimes you get previews of the next slide. So yeah, you might put car drivers, or more specifically SUV drivers, and economy car drivers, and people who carpool could all be up on that map. It's important to ask questions like, who has the power? Who do the people who have the power listen to? Who do those people listen to? And keep working backwards until you find an interesting audience. You can also just ask, who's fun to work with? Or who should I be working with to help make them more powerful? That's one technique to brainstorm audiences. A second approach is especially useful in corporate campaigning. Brian and I did a lot of this when we were at Greenpeace, so we'd be happy to talk to you about some of our successes. You look at a brand that you want to change, and you look at their marketing materials and their advertising strategy, and you reverse engineer who their audience is, and then you look as what part of their audience that would be interesting for you to talk to. Get to that in a second. I put Donald Trump up there because he's not only a politician, he's got a personal brand. So you could treat him in the same way. A third technique, and you don't have to use all of these, you just pick whichever one feels natural, is you could think, okay, what are existing groups of people that I could work with on my campaign? So gamers, for example, or people who knit hats, or homeowners associations, like if you're doing a solar panel campaign. Football fans. Dwayne did a project where he got football fans to turn against racism. Artists and art lovers. Pete Spellers did a project to mobilize art lovers against fossil fuels. So sometimes, though, like you'll pick some audiences, using one of these 3 techniques, and then they'll still be too big to really be meaningful to focus in on. So you need to make them into smaller audiences. So you might, for example, in this case, say, I want to talk to art lovers who are already concerned about climate change, because then I don't have to explain the problem to them. I can start directly with how we can take action together. Yeah? Segmenting by attitude or by place. So maybe I want to talk to art lovers who live in London, who are concerned about climate change, so I can get them to come to my local campaign events at the Tate Modern. Or you can segment by behavior. Hey, this is working really well. Where are they in my user journey? Have they signed the petition? Have they taken this action yet? That makes them a smaller group of people. Psychographic or psychometric segmentation. Chris Rose, I think, is going to do a talk about this tomorrow. He's done a lot of work with it. Look for different people have different personality traits, and that means that you should tailor your communication according to those different personality traits. for those groups of people. A last one I'll mention is interests, because people are using this a lot now thanks to Facebook. You can just say, yeah, I want to target people who like mystery novels or photography or whatever. And you can combine these different types of segmentation. So for example, I want to focus on one audience group that I want to focus on are art lovers who live in London and who have liked my Facebook page. Yeah? So that's using 3 different ways of segmentation to really narrow in a group of people that then is quite small. And you might pick one or more of these audiences then to start investigating. And I would just do first some research online and see what's out there already about this group of people. See if they have websites where they congregate, where they talk to each other, where you can lurk around and find out what their interests are and what their sort of culture is. And then, but pretty quickly get out there and start listening to them. Don't start campaigning right away. Don't start trying to convince them right away. Just start talking to them about what their interests are and what their connection to the issue is. You can also do analytical research at this point, surveys and et cetera, and that's all great, but important thing is to have face-to-face conversations as much as you can. And a few conversations will go a long way. And once you've developed a sort of feeling for this group of people, this particular audience, you can create what are called personas. A persona is a fictional character that represents this particular niche audience. And then it has some of the motivations and some of the personality traits or whatever you've gathered to make it as a believable sort of person that you can then keep in your mind and you have empathy with when you're doing your strategy and you're making your content. So they, instead of thinking of your mother when you're making your blog post or Facebook post or content strategy, you think of this person. You have them in your head. And usually you want to make 3 to 5 of them, something like that. But remember, they are not going to be perfect, even if you do a lot of research. So you want to very quickly get to this stage, which is a whole nother talk, experimenting. Because trying stuff with your particular audience is the most valuable way, or like the only way, really, to find out what actually works. Amelia is here in the room somewhere, and when she did her first ECF talk, she talked about working on the Obama campaign and how they had the best political minds. They had millions of dollars of audience research, and they still couldn't predict which email would work. So they would write like 6 or 8 different versions of every email, test them out, and see which one worked best. Sorry, that was like a very quick skim overview. Happy to talk more and to dig into any of these particular techniques and how you might be able to apply them. That's a picture of my sister's cat. Thank you very much.